So, our beach scene has kind of grown from just being on the beach almost to being on a deserted island somewhere. But that's all because Vacation Bible School is right around the corner. And it starts next Sunday evening. So make sure you're out telling everybody about Vacation Bible School, about all the things that we've got going on. But I want to continue with our family emphasis time. One more message dealing with the beach. So imagine you're at the beach. What kind of things do you smell? Salt.
Fish.
Seaweed. All right.
Fish.
Fish.
Suntan, screen lotion.
All right. Sunscreen lotion.
If you have it.
Yeah, make sure you carry it.
Big Sam's.
Big Sam's. That's if you're at Virginia Beach. Carl's favorite restaurant at Virginia Beach. All right. If you're in Delaware walking on the boardwalk, you can smell those boardwalk fries. I Googled it just to see what people said on the internet. What do they smell? Some other things, you mentioned quite a bit of them, but wet dogs, wet people, aloe vera gel, and I know Bunny said fish, somebody else said dead fish, and there's a difference in the smell between a fish and a dead fish. That's what they said. All right. Hot dogs, fires, food from picnics, exhaust from speedboats. All right. Wet sneakers, French perfume. I don't know what beach they went to. French perfume. Plastic floaters, some of the other things that were suggested. Kinds of smells you smell at the beach. Well, what are some other words for the word smell? Aroma. Another word? What? Scent. All right. Yeah, speak up. My hearing's not great today. Odors. All right. Or if you're going to talk about that French perfume, I guess you better put fragrance in there. All right. Those are all words. All right. God created us to communicate. And part of the way we communicate is through those senses. All right? Through the five senses. And smell is important in those senses. And the family is experienced in those senses. I mean, you think about certain foods your mom used to cook that were your favorite foods. You love to smell that smell, right? Or maybe you smell her perfume. Or maybe it's a smell of tractors. I mean, that's what I grew up with, smelling tractors. Or even more important, growing up was the smell of pigs. And Daddy always said, "Oh, it smells like money." So every time I look at a dollar bill, I think, "Whoo, that stuff stinks." But anyway, different smells. We communicate family through a lot of that too. Well, Sylvester Stallone said in his early years growing up in New York City, from the time he was 2 years old, he lived in a boarding house with a hired caregiver. And he only saw his parents on the weekends. He'd go visit his parents on the weekends. His parents had so many difficulties in their lives that they had no time for him or for his younger brother. It was not a tranquil household by any means. Lots of chaos. The father was a very demanding man, and if you didn't do it his way, it was wrong. And if you didn't do it exactly the way he wanted it done, then you needed to be disciplined. And many times the discipline was questions like, why can't you be smarter? Or why can't you be stronger? And so Sylvester Stallone said he had no virtues that would please his father. Well, we need to create an atmosphere in the home that makes everybody feel a part and makes everybody want to achieve to their very best. So I want to talk about 5 key characteristics that we need in the family this morning, and I'm going to use the word aroma to make our 5 points. The first word being affection. Affection needs to be an important part of the home. 4-year-old Kyle paused to contemplate how he would answer his father's question, what is love? And after thinking about it for a few minutes, he said, it's when people hug and kiss each other all the time. Well, apparently he had seen some affection in the home that was important. Affection is a consistent, loving act of the will, openly and sometimes spontaneously displayed towards its recipients. That's important. In the book, The Blessing, Gary Smalley and John Trent talk about the importance of meaningful touch. And they cite 2 different studies. One from UCLA said that to maintain emotional and physical health, men and women need at least 8 to 10 meaningful touches a day. 8 to 10 meaningful touches a day. And then at the University of Miami Medical School Touch Research Institute, they did a study with premature babies. And they took part of the babies and made sure that they got a massage for 45 minutes every day. The other part of the babies, they just left alone. They fed them when they needed to be fed. They changed their diapers when they needed to be changed. What they discovered was that the babies that got the massage every day had a 47% greater weight gain than the children that just were fed and changed when necessary. The importance of touch in the family is tremendously important. Nurturing and helping our children to grow. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." Now, the English Standard says discipline and instruction. The King James says nurture and admonition. I actually like those words better. Nurture and admonition. That's the way we're supposed to bring our children up. And so, how do we make sure that we give them the proper affection in the home? Well, let me share with you these thoughts. First of all, be sure that the discipline of a child's bad behavior is not accompanied by the withdrawal of your affection. Secondly, model intentional, affectionate acts in your home on a consistent basis. Third, model and teach an affectionate servant's heart consistently in your home. Fourth, at every opportunity say, "I'm sorry and please forgive me." Number 5, model and teach an attitude of affectionate communication in your home. 6, show your children how to keep personal priorities in order. And number 7, remember that each child does not have to be treated the same with the same kind of affection. because we're all different, and we all have a little bit different needs, and we need to show that affection according to the child's need, and not treat everybody exactly the same all the time. All right, so affection. But then we need to come to the second point, and that is respect. Respect. Billy Graham said, a child who's allowed to be disrespectful to his parents will not have true respect for anyone. All right? So we really need to teach respect. I think that's one of the problems in our world today, is people don't respect each other the way that they should. And so we've got to teach it at home. Respect is to treat other people and hold them up in such an high honor that they begin to recognize their own true self-worth. You know, you don't think about how other people view you lots of times, but you need to realize that just maybe you've done something to help somebody along, and because of that, they respect you for it. And so we need to think about respect. Now, there are two types of respect. Two types of respect. One is entitled respect. You know, in the Ten Commandments, it says, honor your father and your mother. Okay? And that's the first promise, or the first commandment that came with a promise. And the promise is so that you might live long on the earth. Because under that Old Testament system, if you did not honor your mother and father, you could be stoned to death, and you wouldn't live very long. So they didn't tolerate disrespect in Old Testament times. I'm not quite ready to go stoning children, but the thing is, we've got to teach respect, and it starts at home. You know, one of the complaints that we always heard when we were homeschooling our children was, well, they need socialization. They need socialization. Can I ask you a question? Where does socialization start? Doesn't it start at home? Isn't that where we learn respect of other people and how we're supposed to treat each other? Doesn't it start at home? And so we really need to work on it. There is entitled respect, but there's also earned respect. I don't think it's enough to look at our kids and say, you need to respect me because I'm your dad. I think we need to earn it as well. All right? So how do we go about earning it? Well, if we're working on trying to earn their respect, one of the things that we're teaching our children spiritually is the value of that child. That's important. What we're teaching them emotionally is a sense of security. And what we're teaching them socially is a foundation on how to treat other people. Those things are tremendously important and have to begin at home, because that's the only place they can start. So, how do we, what guidelines do we have to go about giving honor? Well, be generous with honor in life's ups and downs. I mean, we have lots of ups and downs in life, but always give honor to whom honor is due, respect to whom respect is due. Build people up around you. Even if you don't always agree with them, build them up and make them feel like somebody with value. And when your child starts criticizing themselves, you know, I'm worthless, I'm no good, I can't do anything right. When they come out with that self-criticism, come back with positive input. You know, maybe they didn't do a project exactly the way it was supposed to be done, but did they do their very best? Well, encourage their very best. We're not all gifted to do everything the same, so encourage that. Another thing that's important is respect your child's privacy. Another thing that is tremendously important is avoid profanity in all conversations. All conversations. I can remember one time having to go to school because of Caitlin and a teacher that Caitlin had. And I walked in the principal's office and I said, look, the teacher said these things in front of that whole class. I said, I don't talk to my children that way. I don't want anyone else talking to my children that way. Protect them from that. They don't need to hear that. And some of you have heard me say it before. When people have to use profanity all the time, it's because they lack an education. They don't know how to use the English language. Because most of the time, if you listen to the profanity in the context of what they're saying, it doesn't even fit. It doesn't even make sense. So, stay away from profanity. Always be a parent of second chances. Okay? We all mess up, don't we? We all need a second chance. So, make sure we're parents of second chances. So, affection and respect. And then we come to the O, and that's order. Order. Now, a lot of homes, there's chaos. A lot of homes, the order comes about who could yell the loudest or cry the most convincingly. You know, if I could turn the tears on and get my way, and then there's this chaos, okay? We have to be careful about that. So order is the act of managing and modeling godly leadership in the home, resulting in a refuge of calm. Right? We don't have to have the screaming. We don't have to have the crying. We need calm. We need peace. So how do we get that order? There are 3 R's to bring about that order. Okay? One is rules. Clearly defined rules. All right, number 2 is roles. Everybody in the family has a role to play. And everybody in the family needs to carry out their role to make sure the family functions the way it's supposed to function. 3rd is rights. Guarantee every family member a certain minimum amount of rights, because we all need those rights. So the guidelines to make order work. Here we go. Make rules that can be kept. Hold periodic family meetings to enable clear communication about order. For younger children, sometimes a distraction is more important than a punishment. Okay? So we need to think about that. And 4th, understand that order internalized brings outward peace. That's important. Then we come to the M, number 4, merriment. The home should be a place of fun and laughter. Yeah. We ought to be able to laugh at ourselves. Okay? I know we pick on my mom all the time. And I'll share this with you, but we pick on her all the time for one reason. Mom and Dad went to visit Mom's aunt one time, and she pulled out a bunch of old letters that my grandmother had written to the aunt. And apparently Mom had been sick for a while with congestion and a head cold and these sort of things. And so my grandmother wrote to my aunt, "Gloria's head still isn't right." And my dad started laughing and said, "And it still isn't." So anytime Mama does something a little goofy or a little bit off, we just say, "Hey, Mom, your head ain't right yet, is it?" And we laugh and we make fun. She laughs, you know. It's one thing to laugh, but if you said something like that that was hurtful to that person, then that's different. You know, you never want to say anything that is harmful or hurtful. But there are things in our lives that we ought to be able to laugh at and realize that this atmosphere of enthusiasm should be accompanied by laughter and noise, because we actually enjoy being a family together. So Guidelines for merriment. Learn to laugh at yourself. Secondly, always laugh with, not at someone. And realize that laughter has to have boundaries. Okay? Because we don't want to hurt anyone. Then we come to the final A, affirmation. Affirmation. That's an established, clearly held position declared as true. All right? In every home, you're going to have one or two things. You're going to have affirmation or you're going to have condemnation. What we want in the home is affirmation. Okay? We want to make sure everybody feels affirmed that things are true and they're doing things according to the truth. All right? So how do we do that? What are the guidelines for affirmation? Well, learn and use phrases that foster family connections. Okay? What kind of things pull us together? What kind of sayings or words that we use pull us together? Use the power of touch. Okay? You know, a hug it never hurts anybody. It's helpful. It's beneficial. Major on the positive reinforcement, not the negative. Major on the positive reinforcements. Communicate clearly. You know, it's important that we say what we need to say clearly and concisely so there's no misunderstanding about what we're saying. And then eliminate all hurtful name calling. Okay? Yeah, I've got nicknames for all the grandkids, and they know that's going to come from Granddaddy. But I'd never call them something that I knew would hurt them. And you know, we got that old phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Whoever wrote that was a liar. All right? Because words are hurtful, and so we have to be careful about those nicknames and realize when we use nicknames that they're terms of affection. All right? So, we need to develop this aroma in the family. Affection, respect, order, merriment, and affirmation. If we can do that, I think we're coming close to an understanding of what Moses recorded in Deuteronomy chapter 6. These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as signs on your hand, and they shall be as frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on its gates. Because when we truly learn this aroma in the family, that's when we're going to bring our children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And we all need that nurture and admonition of the Lord. The Lord loves us and nurtures us. The admonition, the Lord corrects us and disciplines us. And so it's important that we make sure we put Him first in our lives. So this morning the question is, have you put Him first? Because if you have the right aroma, the right phrase that will be pleasing to the Lord. If you don't, you need to make a decision for Jesus. Always stand along the same amazing grace.